You will not survive in this unless you have that thing that makes it like a necessity for you.
It's time for Backstage Chats with Women in Music, where the stories and voices of female music makers inspire women like you to be dreamers, to be rule breakers, and to unleash your inner rock star. Podcasting from Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world, here's your host, Eleanor Bennett.
Karma Mayet's sound has been described as equal parts funk and glitter, cornbread and molasses. Born in Chicago, the composer and performer has traveled the globe, collaborating with the likes of Meshell Ndegeocello, Lizz Wright, Vernon Reid, and the Roots.
It's been a long time since I've seen you. If you remember me at all, I'd be the short one in the picture with my hip against the wall. We used to wander in the moonlight with the gristle in our teeth. And every morning grace come to slow us and settle us down.
I first met Karma at a women's retreat she led with her fellow healer and musician, Shelly Nicole. It was there that I learned about Karma's unique practice called Rootsong, which combines yoga with the power of sound. When talking about the practice, she said, "I've learned that the medicine of my voice involves the condition of my full being." I caught up with Karma at her home in Brooklyn, where we talked about everything from her music-infused childhood to her ongoing practice of arts education as social activism.
My name is Karma, and when I was in my mommy's belly, or before I got there, maybe as a part of how I got there, my parents were listening to this album, Karma, which is by Pharoah Sanders. Think about the one who made us all. That's one of the songs. And then on the album, and then there's Karma. The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness for every man. So that's the song. That's why that's my name. You know, my dad was a DJ when my mom and dad were in college. That's where they met. So my dad would play that on constant rotation all the time. And my mom would play like Angela Bofield records. She would play the Shaka, of course. Me and my mommy's favorite song that we would like skip down the street to was Tell Me Something Good. That Shaka, right? Ding, ding, ha. Tell me that you like it, yeah. You know, so we were just, it was, music is everything. Music is everything. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Even in your name, not many people can say that. That's beautiful. Okay. Who was your first concert?
Wow, my first concert that I remember was the Jackson 5. The, can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? The Victory Tour. And I was little. I was 6 or 7 years old. So that's like 1979 or something. It was my birthday. And I asked my mommy for a blazer. It was like, hint, hint, she's going to be a lesbian. No, but I asked my mommy for a blazer that I wanted to wear. It was like velvety and stuff. And she got it for me. And I wanted to wear it to the concert. And I did. And it was amazing. But before that, you know, or constantly through my youth, we always used to go out to Grant Park because I was raised in Chicago, like outdoor concerts. I was so blessed when I was a little girl. I got to see all of the greats who were still alive. So like I saw Ella Fitzgerald in the park. I saw Carmen McRae, who I wanted to be when I was 5. I have parents who were like into it. So I was lucky. That's a long answer.
I feel like most people's concerts are when they're, 17 years old, and you said 5 or 6. That's so incredible.
Mm-hmm. I'm grateful.
What was the first album you bought with your own money?
Ooh, the first record I bought was not a whole album. It was not a 12-inch. It was a 45. See, I'm taking y'all back because y'all don't know about this. I bought a 45 at Walgreens for 69 cents. And it was Prince, I want to be your lover. I wanna be the only one you. Now, when I was little, when I bought this record, again, I was like about 5. When I bought the record, I used to sing "The only one you cook for," because I didn't realize he was saying the only one you come for, because I was 5. You know,
That like kind of translates well too.
It works. You know.
So good. I love that. Okay. Which artist or band is in heavy rotation on your Spotify right now?
Right now, I am really feeling this beautiful vocalist, arranger, composer named Sushila Rahman. She is amazing. And she sings this beautiful melange of like traditional South Asian music where she's from, and sort of global jazz because she's grew up in London. She's done collaborations with everyone from like the Tongan throat singers to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and all these people. Like, she's just like a completely amazing phenomena, and I just love everything she does.
Wow. I'm going to listen to her after this. Okay. Which woman has had the most influence on your career?
Wow, that's a big one. Which woman has had the most influence on my career? My instinct is to say Dr. Bernice Johnson Regan, who has been my teacher for a really long time. When I was a teenager, I lived in Washington, D.C., which is where she was also based for many years. And she, as the founder of Sweet Honey in the Rock, the a cappella ensemble, would produce the anniversary concerts every year, the anniversary of the founding of Sweet Honey. And Sweet Honey was founded in the same year that I was born. And so it was always a family thing that I would go with my mother. And so I started singing all the Sweet Honey songs and teaching myself. So I say that she was my teacher then from a distance. And then there's my mommy. And then there is my grandmother, my father's mother, who has a beautiful voice and a gift of song. And she always says to me, "You live in my dream," because she was a beautiful singer and she was always quite shy and had a lot of stage fright. And she was also she always says, "I had to raise your daddy. I wasn't going to be, going off on tour or whatever." She was like, "But when I see you, it satisfies my soul. You live in my dream."
So incredible. Okay. If you could have dinner with any woman, dead or alive, who would it be?
Shaka Khan. I would love to sit with Shaka. Oh, honey. And some red wine. What? With Shaka? Oh,
Have you met?
Shaka. I have never met Shaka. And I don't know why. And it should really happen. Shaka's from the south side of Chicago. She went to high school with my mom. Her name was Yvette, and my mom was like, we always knew Yvette was going to be a star because she won all the talent shows. I mean, she's just brilliant. I would love to sit with Shaka.
Oh my God. All right. You will meet her. I feel like if you put that out in the universe, which you are. Yeah. What is one life goal you'd like to accomplish before you die?
I have got to publish this trilogy of novels. It started off as a short story, then I ended up writing a bunch of songs and writing the play, and now the story itself, just as a book for people to sit and read, needs to get born. Writing the story that I'm speaking of, Indigo, was literally painful. Like, literally, it hurts to write it because it's tragic. It's a story about lesbians on the Underground Railroad. So the level of trauma, of separation, of having to create possibility out of nothing and out of yourself, really, like getting into the story of what that really is literally painful. Like, I'd be sitting on the floor, like weeping with cramps in my stomach, trying to get the stuff down on the paper, listening to the voices of these characters and letting them come through. It hurts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like you're healing through the writing.
Mm-hmm. You go through that pain to get to the other side of it. As the old saying says, there's the only way out is through. So. Mm-hmm.
And so you once wrote, "The medicine of my voice involves the condition of my full being." And you quoted John Lee Hooker saying the blues is a healer. Do you think there's an inherent connection between music and healing? And how does this connection manifest in your life's work?
Ooh, absolutely. So I call my company Rootsong because I'm a yoga instructor. And so we work with the root of the body, the root being the place where sound is generated in the body and where that healing force actually rises up from. And so it's a practice people come to sometimes the way that you would go to a yoga class. You go to it, like you don't necessarily need to be a singer because that sound vibration is universally available. But then there also are people who are singers who come with a more specific focus on like, let's really use this work to get deeply into vocal technique. We do that too. And so for me inside of my practice, when people actually vocalize, then the sound production is happening inside the body. It's like giving yourself a sound bath, but from the inside out. So when I work with people, with groups and individuals to sing into themselves, it has that magic power. And you see that through so many cultures that you've got to have. I've never seen any kind of spiritual ceremony or ritual or service of any kind from any tradition, no matter what part of earth, where there's no singing. You know what I mean? Like one side of my family is Muslim, and I always feel like, that's the one thing that's, they don't really sing during the service. But the first thing that happens is the call. The first thing that happens is the call, and you can't have prayer without the call. And it's got to be lifted, and it's got to be musical. So, it's like no matter where, the music is the center. That sound vibration is the center. Even if you're not using sound through your ears, right? Like the deaf community, who has been such a big force inside of feminist culture, which is where my work has been nurtured. I've always been nurtured by women's music communities, women's music festivals, Black lesbian cultural organizations in Washington, D.C. When I lived there, it was 85% Black city, and it was like 65% female. So, the cultural sort of cauldron that I come from has always had that at the center. So, and part of that has been the deaf community activism and the embrace that, like at concerts, for instance, I was talking about Dr. Bernice. So the Sweet Honey was one of the groups that started making it a tradition to have sign language interpreters at concerts. And then the Michigan Women's Music Festival that I was talking about also, they have a tradition of having a section in the front for the non-hearing folks to be up in the front, and you can't sit there if you're a hearing person because you can't get in their way, right? So they can see the interpreters. And then the way that the sound molecules are still working on people's bodies, regardless of whether they hear or not, and people can feel that, it's a part of who we are, as humans.
The vibrations and the sound. That's so beautiful. As you were just saying, you feel like you've been nurtured by this feminist world, and a lot of your sound and healing work, I think, focuses on women. Why do you think it's so important to create these spaces?
We have to weep. One of the things that happened when I went, for instance, to the Michigan Women's Music Festival is that because of the fact that once you get into that gathering, there are literally only women around you for miles and miles and miles around. One of the things that happens to a lot of people the first time that they go there is the weeping, which I did also. It's like after my first day there and I got into my tent and I laid on the ground, and then the earth itself started like pulling grief out of me, and it started holding me and cradling me, and I started weeping. And I realized what I was experiencing was the relaxation of certain levels of tension that, because they had never been relieved, had never been something I was conscious of holding, because I had never not been holding it. So this was the first time that I was not holding that particular tension. And it is so powerful a sensation. It's just a reality of the condition of the world that we live in, is that it's not ours. And so the experience of living in a world that is ours is so necessary, even if it's only for, a day, a couple hours, a week here and there. It restores us.
Feels like it comes, we're literally nurtured in the womb of a mother, and then we're born. And so it's almost like these spaces are inherently safe for us. It's so important for women to get to feel that way. Exactly. And have that safe space.
Exactly. It's so powerful.
On that note, do you think things have improved for women and women of color in particular in the music industry since you were beginning your journey?
I think we improve our own experience every time that we enter our practice. Do I think the industry itself was founded by Black women? So the first person to like sell 1 million of something and like really establish generational wealth for Columbia Records was Bessie Smith, right? She was the highest paid performer on the planet Earth when she was alive. You know, from the beginning, the contracts, I guess if we're talking about Bessie generating more wealth than anyone could imagine, and having to, for instance, buy her own train to travel and to tour in because she wasn't allowed to ride the train. Meanwhile, the millions, the dollars that she's generating are fattening, you know, the coffers of Columbia Records, which became, you know, the biggest company that all of the stars that we were talking about were signed on, and that, you know, worldwide, you know, whatever. So the principle that she was working on was it's like, you know, you don't want me to ride your little stanky train, I will buy myself a train, and my train is prettier, you know. So that so that principle, I think, is still the principle that we're operating on today. Like this podcast, like we don't like what we see in the, I will call it the patriarchal media, so we make our own. Now, does that mean, I don't know, I don't even know how to really think in terms of progress in the industry.
September song, falling out of the rain, falling down like love. September song, falling out of the rain, falling down like love.
If you could go back 20 years and give yourself advice, what would it be? And what advice would you give other female artists who are just beginning their journey?
So 20 years ago, I was moving to New York. So I moved here in 1999. And I moved here to go to grad school as a poet. So I guess what I would say in terms of what the advice looks like is that it's a winding road. There's so many different paths that can converge, and that you make it up as you go, and that it's going to be all right, and that you will not know what the next day will bring, but that you literally make the path by walking. You know, music kind of came and took over my life. Like, I did not plan for music to come take over my life at all.
Sounds like love.
Completely. Like, I had no plans for that to happen. My first concert I just didn't want to do it. It's a long and winding road. That's what and it's going to be all right, and there's many, many ways to look at what success means, and that it's possible to be a really strong, powerful, independent artist and pay your bills, even if most people never heard of you.
Yeah. That is advice worth giving to a lot of young artists.
Yeah, because, if a few thousand of them have, you can eat. You'll be all right.
And if what you want is to touch people's lives, you are touching them almost in a deeper way.
I mean, I'm not going to hate on the superstar life. I'm sure it's amazing. And, I've been really touched by people who had that kind of a platform. I mean, I'm talking about Shaka Khan being in love, I'm in love with her. I'm in love with all these world famous, amazing people. So I'm grateful that they have this platform, because what if I never got a chance to hear them? I think it's great to be world famous. I think it's fabulous. But I'm just saying that there's so many ways, right, that you can be successful. That's not the only way. If you don't get that, just give it up. No, I remember my first acting teacher back when I was a kid. I was a child actor, and I was in a local production company. Our teacher told us, if there's anything else that you can do it instead of this.
Warning to the wise.
Literally, if there's anything at all.
You said no, nothing else.
That that you can possibly do other than this, please go do that. Because you will not survive in this unless you have that thing that makes it like a necessity for you, because that's where you'll go back to replenish the drive that it's going to take for you, because people are going to tell you no most of the time. So you have to have something else that and if you feel comfortable doing any other kind of work, it will be better for you to go do that.
Oh man, but you didn't. You had to stick with it. You had that thing.
That thing. I'm one of the crazy ones, because it's literally crazy. Like, I heard Meshell say that once. Meshell Ndegeocello, who's another beloved friend, and she was like, yeah, this is my only job I could do. So I really appreciate the support that I've received, because I can't do other things. You know what I mean? This is what I'm here to do. So, yeah.
She's amazing. I heard her interviewing Joan the policewoman. It's like watching two people fall in love through conversation. Like, it was the way I felt like every interview should be always.
That's another example of how powerful community is, because, we create with each other, we create space for each other, we produce with each other, and we do this work with each other's support and nurturance. And those conversations are literally the fertile material that actually makes our creativity possible, is those relationships. Meshell used to live down, she and her wife Allison used to live on St. James. And so I was walking down Fulton Street one day, and I heard this little voice by my shoulder, because she's a little shorter than me. Hey, Meshell. So she was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, hey. And she was like, yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you. And I was like, I know, I've been meaning to talk to you too. And I was like, yo, let's make a record. She was like, okay, word. And so then we made a song. We recorded a song. She came over and sat in that knee chair here and almost fell out of it, because most people fall out of it because, you have to be careful. But anyway, you know what I mean? You can just be in community with people and create and like make things, and where we are literally each other's beloveds, and each other's sounding boards, and each other's, producers. And like, it's really crucial, I think, to acknowledge the historical import of the fact that, like, this is how work gets done, is that even if it's not in a literal sense, like, I don't know, I feel like Meshell and Joan have collaborated on some discs. But even if, like, you're not, quote unquote, officially making a record with a person, just those conversations actually feed your mind and then change what happens for you the next day, And so community really, it really is everything, like among women artists, among any human beings, but certainly the way that my life and making work has unfolded, it's been in that context of like, oh, we know each other, let's do stuff together,
That feels like another really good piece of advice. I know we moved on from that question, but for younger artists, is just for anybody entering into any kind of journey, like, find your community and collaborate. Nothing but good can come out of that.
And forgiveness too. Yeah. Forgiveness is a real thing. A really important and powerful thing too is that forgiveness, like, inside of building community, you've got to have forgiveness or it won't function, because none of us is going to be right all the time. Of course, what comes along with forgiveness is accountability, because I can't forgive you if you're not willing to be accountable, because then we can't move forward. I can forgive you from a distance, which is fine too, you know what I mean? But if we're gonna stay and move forward together, then you're gonna need to have accountability. I'm gonna need to have accountability. I'm gonna need you to forgive me, But forgiveness is something that has been resonating for me over and over in recent days. Mm-hmm.
To all the young women listening out there, this is gold advice. So my last question for you, Karma, is what's next on the creative horizon for you?
I have a record that I have recorded, and speaking of industry and support work, I have no relationship with any record label. I'm self-produced. Like, anything I've ever done has been self-produced all the time for the whole time in terms of my original work. So for me to finish this record, which is called Womyn, I took some old songs and did my own arrangements and interpretations. And then it's about half and half of that and half original compositions. So I've got 13 pieces in the can, and I am going to create and more manifest the funds to now mix and master, manufacture and distribute and promote.
Hell yeah.
So that's what's up. That's what's next.
And where can people, if people want to check you out, check your music out, where should they go?
They can go to my website, which is my name, karmamayet.com. And they can also, I have two websites because I work in these two ways in tandem. So karmamayet.com is more of a focus on performing life, and Rootsong.net is a focus on my work with people and individuals, so people can come to me for that practice one-on-one, or they can ask me to come and be with a group to do the Rootsong work. Yeah, so either site and all of the social handles, which, on all the social handles, I'm the same person, Karma Mayet. Mayet is how you spell the second part, and karma, like the first part, is that thing that comes back to thee.
Hopefully we all know about that. Thank you so much, Karma, for talking to me today. It's so special.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
This episode was produced by Eleanor Bennett. Hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Backstage Chats with Women in Music. This podcast is a production of the Backstage Chats Foundation, a non-profit that is on a mission to eliminate gender disparity in the music industry by amplifying the voices and careers of women in music. You can make a difference by donating to the cause. Visit backstagechats.com and click the donate button today.